Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, hi, Dave. Hello.
How you doing? How you doing?
Oh man, you know what? I'm doing okay. But I feel like I'd be doing a lot better if we had to randomly generate a number for some reason to figure out a movie to watch.
Oh, that's great news, Tom.
Is it?
Because in my hand, I'm holding a die.
You don't say. Like a die, like a fabric die?
No, like dice, but singular.
Oh, like a numbers cube.
Yeah, one of them numbers cubes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this, and the number is, depending on what the number is, that's going to correspond with a movie we have to watch.
Well, shit.
Yeah, shit on us.
Why didn't you say so?
Shit on all over us.
Shit on top of my head. What luck.
Yes. All right, well, here I go. Here I go, Tom.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to put the microphone close to the die so we can hear it roll.
Sure.
Did you hear it?
I did, yeah. It definitely sounded like something hitting the table.
Okay, I rolled a number 2, Tom.
Uh-huh. What does that mean? What does that mean for us?
Well, I guess let's start the intro sounds. And, hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Paul Blart Mall Cop.
The gateway is open, and you are all coming with me. Do you see? Do you see? Do you see?
Hi, we're back.
We are back.
We're back.
We're so back. We're back so hard.
We just watched it.
We did. We just watched it just now.
Yeah, it's in the title. So it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Which means this was done to us by Andrew Maguire.
This was inflicted upon us by Andrew Maguire.
Thank you, Andrew. He, as we already mentioned, he created a sort of contraption where we rolled a dice to see what movie. I don't think we ever revealed what the other movies were, and you know what? Not gonna.
No. I'm going to let that forever be a mystery.
Yeah.
I'll keep that secret locked in my heart.
Tom, had you seen this movie before?
Oh, God, no. No.
Neither had I.
No. Why would I have seen this?
This movie is tragic.
This movie is so aggressively terrible in every conceivable aspect, from its construction to the performance, to the execution. Everything about this movie is bad.
It made me like I had to watch Blackfish to feel better again after this, because I was like, I need something marginally happier than this movie.
I need something uplifting. Let me throw on Grizzly Man.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Because I agree. First of all, I agree with you. The only time I laughed was at how bad the movie was. Like how incredibly bad it was made me laugh at certain points at how they had done like everything wrong.
Every decision here is wrong.
It takes 40 minutes for the plot to happen.
Yeah.
The first 40 minutes are just about how lonely he is.
Yeah. And they do this thing where first of all, it needs to be said right up front that this was a January release. It was like a January dump made up for $26 million. This movie grossed $183 million. This movie was a massive hit.
So
I went into this expecting it to be bad, but expecting to see what people liked about it. And I absolutely cannot.
No. My first guess going into it was going to be geared towards kids.
Yeah.
Like the Happy Madison, sort of maybe teenagers or kids, because the humor it's not teenage. It's not...
no, this movie is PG. It is rated PG, so it is very much
not juvenile.
Yeah.
However, it's not really geared towards kids either, I would argue, because once again, it spends 40 minutes just on how lonely and weird he is.
Right. It's just, it's so ponderous, too. That first half is just this middle-aged guy and how crushingly lonely he is. And they frame the movie... I've said derisively on the social meds for the past decade or so that Paul Blart was the entire comedy of Paul Blart was just a 90-minute fat joke. That is precisely what it is.
Yes.
They hang all of his... They seem to frame the fact that... Okay, because I'm gonna let me back up just a little bit to preface this by saying I think not only is this movie bad, I think this movie is also harmful.
Yes.
They frame it as though the source of his issue is the fact that he's overweight, even though they're constantly joking about how like weak he is and how like he can't really get around, even though Kevin James is a pretty like fit, nimble guy.
Yeah.
And he's like doing crash rolls and leaping over fences and picking people up and stuff. Like they make a joke out of how he's struggling to pick up one of the parkour robbers, who is a 90-pound woman. We'll get to this. And he's like struggling to pick her up. I'm like, Kevin James can pick that woman up.
Yeah, 100%.
So
they make him, well, they can't decide, is he nimble or is he funny fat guy? Because the beginning police both. Training, he's like doing flips and shit.
Right, he's like blasting through the police training. And like, you just, you know about, if you know anything about Kevin James, like he was an athlete when he was in high school and college. So it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that he could do this stuff. But the movie hangs it all on his appearance, when in actuality the source of his problem is that he's extremely awkward. And
and he's kind of a creep.
And he's a creep.
They do this thing where it's like, oh, he's like a fat guy, so the woman at the mall is not going to like him. But like he's leering at her constantly. He watches her through the security footage.
Cameras, yeah.
He gets drunk and acts like a complete asshole.
Right. He does.
He assaults someone. And it's like, no, these are the reasons why there's any problems here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On the subject...
Yeah, just go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to kind of veer us off a little bit.
Oh, okay. So. Well, I'm sure we'll keep circling back to it, but it is... I cannot overstate how vicious this movie is to people who are overweight.
Yes. I would argue not as bad as other movies.
Not as bad, but this movie, for the, I mean, when your main character is a heavy person and like so much of the plot is based around that, you would think it would come away with some kind of positive message. Nope.
No.
It is all stereotypes. Everything he says and does is a food reference.
Yes. There's a sad scene where he's eating pie and his family's just sad for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's supposed to be funny.
He's smearing peanut butter on top of the pie.
Yeah.
And which is a thing that nobody does, right?
No, but I will now try.
Yeah, well, no, I have to. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I'm going to be dipping pieces of cake into a peanut butter jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird scenes like that. And like he signs the birthday card for his stalking
romantic
victim
interest,
with just a series of jokes about how heavy he is and how much he loves food. And it's like, we don't even really see that. It's just like the movie just assumes, well, he's a big guy, so he's food crazed, even though that's not really demonstrated in the film. Not at all. I know we just got done saying that he smears peanut butter on a piece of pie, and then later on when he's out, we see him in just a feverish nacho eating contest with like the only other heavy person in the movie.
Yeah, and we're going to skip around a bit, but they do a bit where he eats a hot pepper and he like freaks out, but it's a jalapeno on like a family restaurant nacho plate.
Mm-hmm.
That is not spicy.
Well,
at all.
It is, but like
a little bit, but not like, oh my god,
right?
Like you'd think they do a bit where they're like, oh yeah, we have our new like ghost pepper special, or like they act like he's like that's like a really, really
right, like a
spicy thing, and it's like it's a nacho jalapeno, man.
Right, like a dude who routinely
he has to drink 2 glasses of margarita.
Oh right, yeah. Oh. Yeah, like a guy who routinely gets into nacho eating contests,
right?
Getting knocked on tilt by a jalapeno is like a surfer who can't swim.
Yeah,
it's really odd.
It's really odd. I think the jalapeno kind of, for me, symbolizes the whole movie and the humor and the question of who is this for. And I don't want to sound like an elitist, West and East Coast liberal, but is this for like, I want to say Christian, but probably just religious, like fundamentalists who are probably right-leaning conservative, where it's like, it's really, really milquetoast. It's really, because again, it's not for kids. So I feel like, is this being shown in like churches or something like that?
Maybe
or cults? Because also, like, one of the plot points is that the mother of his child is an evil immigrant.
Yeah.
Who showed up, had a kid, got her green card, and then abandoned him and her kid?
Yeah.
It was like, why is this even in the movie? They, like, make a note to talk about it, and it doesn't add to the plot at all.
No. Another thing that I thought was going to be, like, they plant and pay off some stuff.
Right.
Like, he gets a bottle of hot sauce as a gift from one of his friends at the mall that's like the devil's crotch.
Yeah.
And that comes in later, sort of. It just becomes a joke later. And
that's probably the only decent joke, I would say, of the movie.
Oh, yeah. That was...
It's I didn't really laugh, but I was like, oh, that's... okay, because he splashes it in the villain's eyes, and then he just watches the villain deal with it. He doesn't take advantage of it.
Right. He's so excited that it worked.
Yeah.
That he misses his window to actually take advantage of it.
Yeah, I would call that the one joke of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Not necessarily a good joke, but I was like, that's a joke.
Yeah. Well, they plant the ex-boyfriend, like, calling him on he's using a phone he borrowed from a teenage girl, and like the ex-boyfriend, they make a whole bit about how her ex-boyfriend has a GPS tracker installed on her phone, and that ends up mattering to the plot.
I worry for that girl.
Yes.
Almost every guy in this movie is a predator.
Yes. Every single guy except for the guy that gives him the phone, who is the dude from The Mummy.
Yes. As far as we know.
As far as we know. Yeah, as far as we know. But like everybody else is just the thirstiest fucking jackass, and they're all circling this one woman like vultures the entire movie.
And the teenage boy has a shrine in his room to this other teenage girl who we never see.
No.
It's just a gag in the movie.
He starts talking about how sexy her feet are, and this is a teenage girl.
And then he has a tracker on her phone, and he's treated as like an ally to the main character.
Well, he's treated as like a wacky character, and he's also like an extremely racist stereotype, because that's this movie.
Yeah. This is America, the movie.
Yeah, this is America of the movie. Milquetoast as shit, racist as fuck, ableist, just fucking body shaming garbage America.
Not even middle of the road. This is subpar, right? Like this is a badly made and badly written film.
Yeah, it is very bad.
We should go. I guess I want to go through the plot because I have a main kind of point, or not point, but like a question. So he wants to be a cop. That's the first thing we learn about him, which already makes me hate him.
Right. Yeah. And the first thing we see him do is like try to flex what little authority he has in his tin pot dictatorship.
Yeah. But during the training, they show why he can't be a cop. And it's not because he's fat. It's because I thought he had narcolepsy because that's how he's playing it. Mm-hmm. He slams on the ground during training and starts snoring. And apparently he has hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar. Mm-hmm. Now, I went ahead and Googled this, Tom. Oh. If you're passing out from that, you need to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
That is for hypoglycemia. That's a big red flag, and he does it throughout the film.
He does it so much that he uses it at the end to trick the bad guy.
Yeah. So that's not great for him. I mean,
mm-hmm. No, I'm concerned. I'm concerned for him.
I'm concerned for Paul Blart.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a man who's like passing out from low blood sugar, who has like this. Again, this like he eats with his mom and his daughter, and they seem like really sad that he's doing it. I'm like, this seems like a good life, but sure. Eating the pies, he's going on like a matchmaking thing. There's a scene where he just cries at his computer because no one matched with him.
No one matched with him, and then he looks at the receipt where the woman had written her name, and it's just like there's so much of this movie that is devoted to how sad he is.
It was depressing.
Yeah.
I was like, everybody in this scene is depressed.
Yeah.
And then he cries. It's like, oh, now I'm depressed. This is depressing.
No, I feel like shit.
Yeah. Like you said, he works at the mall and he uses what little power he has to like exert it over other people.
The first thing he tells his new trainee, whose spoilers turns out to be the bad guy, which we all spotted from 10,000 miles away. Particularly when they introduced him as Vec Sims, I'm like, that's the bad guy.
That's the bad guy. Also, the other cop, when the other cop came rolling in, I was like, well, that's the bad guy too. Because,
Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, because he knew how the cops were going to react. So it was like, oh yeah, like clearly he has a guy on the inside. The predictability of this movie almost goes without saying.
But the first thing he tells his new trainee, Vec Sims, is when you approach people to shout at them and angle your body with your hand on your hip to look like you have a gun. That's the first thing he tells him to do. And
like, we know these people. Like, I don't know about you, Tom, but I knew people like this. They were usually younger, where they would have cop voice. They wanted to be a cop. They wanted to have power. You'd work with them. Like when I worked at a mall, there were people like this.
Yes.
And they led kind of like frightening lives sometimes because they're the people who, I don't know, might go out to a protest with a gun protecting property.
Yes.
Like they're scary people. And I haven't watched it in a while, but I'm pretty sure the movie that came out during like the same time as this, Observe and Report, is about those people.
Yes.
If I remember it correctly, that movie knows what it is. This doesn't.
Yes, that movie is also extremely dark,
but it's that's the thing.
That's the point, yeah.
That's the point. And that's what's interesting about this movie. It's unironically that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that for people who don't understand what the problem is.
Right. It's glorifying this idea.
Yeah. This like exerting control over others with your authority.
Mm-hmm.
And that being the best part of your job.
Yeah. Like he says at one point, like safety never takes a holiday, and like, but we never see him do anything to keep anybody safe. What we see him do is try to pull over an extremely old man on his rascal scooter
for not going that fast either. Like I know that's
going like a little fast, but
yeah,
like
the gag is that, but it's just again like what a sad man.
Like that's the only example we get of him doing his job, other than just fucking haunting this woman at her extensions kiosk.
Yeah.
And just like forcing extremely awkward conversation. So the only thing we see him do in his capacity as a security guard is try to bully an old man on a scooter.
Yes. And then, it's comedy ensues.
So we infer from that this is what he does every day to varying degrees of intensity.
Right. Until he's faced with the ultimate enemy, which is a group of multiracial millennials.
That's true. Oh, no, wait. I forgot about one of the most egregious moments is when he's called to Victoria's Secret to settle a dispute, and it's between two women.
And he fights a lady.
Yeah, he gets beat up by a lady, but like,
yeah,
it's an overweight lady, and they do the gag where they pull her shirt over her head so her stomach is hanging out, and it's clear that the intent there is for the audience to be like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so fucking mean.
Yeah. She's also not that big. I mean, I know it doesn't matter.
No, she's not. But like that's that's still is 100% the gag that they're going for, quote unquote, is look at this woman's belly. Like, it's like, oh my guys, like,
she looks like an average person.
Yeah.
It's
this movie is so mean.
It's mean,
but it's casually so. It's like
it's mean but toothless. Because it's not like it's almost not aware of that. It isn't mean. The same way it's not aware that it's like making this guy heroic, even though he's an extremely depressing character,
right? And scary character,
and scary.
If you extrapolate,
him leering at this woman is not treated like a scary thing. He like leers at her, and then they do a comical thing where he bumps into a van that's in the mall, like on display, and then later he goes into the security room and starts watching her on the security camera.
Yeah,
and we're supposed to extrapolate from this. Oh, he's in love with her, and it's like no. They mention that she's new.
Yeah,
and so it's like no, he just met her and he's fucking watching her.
Yeah, she's new. The character's name is Amy. The actress, I'm not sure of her name, but we just saw her in Bill and Ted Face the Music. She was one of the princesses.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah.
Upgrade.
We never learn a single thing about her.
No, I thought she was going to be a bad guy because of the way she acted.
Yeah.
Because she was so passively accepting that I was like, oh, she's clearly like stringing him along to like rob the mall or something.
Yeah.
No, we don't learn all we know is that she sells extensions.
She sells extensions and she drives a Mustang. We don't learn a single thing about her. We don't know anything she likes. We don't know what she likes to do. We don't know how old she is. We don't know when she moved to town. Like, the movie seriously never gives us a single detail about her life or her interests.
I think they thought the Mustang was character development.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we know about her, is that she drives an old Mustang.
And the way they do that, I thought that was going to play into the plot.
Yes, that's a big note. That's a big note of mine.
Yeah, they're like, hey, cool Mustang. They have like a conversation about it. I'm like, again, I was thinking like, oh, she's like a villain or something. That Mustang's going to play into the action later. No, I think it's just them being like, we have to give this broad like some sort of goddamn development, or all them chicks are going to be mad at us.
Some kind of character.
Let's make her like let's make her drive a cool car.
That's it. We did it. That's all the character work they did. No, the note that I have related to that is where he goes like, oh, an interesting bit of trivia, and he does that a few times in the movie.
Yes, but not throughout the movie.
Exactly, but in the beginning he does. So it's all in the beginning of the movie. So his thing is like he knows trivia about weird things like this Mustang, and he knows weird trivia about this restaurant chain, and he knows trivia about there was another thing that he just was rattling off information about, and I was like, oh, okay, surely this will come into play later, as it's going to be like, oh, he's going to have to put all of this disparate knowledge he has stored in his head to help save the day. Nope, not at all. None of that happens. No. They completely drop that thread as soon as the action starts.
What if this was originally written as like an observe and report movie that was like almost a drama, like a comedy drama about this guy, and then Observe and Report was coming out and they heard about it and they're like, shit, let's grab Kevin James.
Yeah.
Let's have him do a rewrite. I mean, I know that's not true because it's just Happy Madison all the way, but it feels like the first 40 minutes is a different movie.
Yes.
Because I did not expect the second half of this movie is how I thought this movie was going to be throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Which was like, my expectations were so low, and it was just like, I thought he was going to go into zany adventures and stop criminals. You know, it'd be like, oh, look, first 15 minutes, oh, look at this fumbling moron. Let's quickly introduce a love interest. Like, again, low bar. And then 15 minutes in, like, there'd be some sort of crazy robbery or something stupid.
Yeah.
But the movie takes 40 minutes to do that.
Oh, man, it sure does.
It's the damnedest thing.
Yeah, this movie is a real chestnut. Like, I can't begin to decipher it.
It's, oh my God, we haven't even talked about, really, the robbery, the second half of the movie.
Oh, who cares?
Well, first of all, I don't know what the villain, they didn't do a good job at, like, I assume he was there to rob the bank.
He was there, he needed codes to the credit card machines.
But they never really explained why.
Right, I guess it was to I don't know. They don't really explain why, you're right.
They don't explain the robber. It's like these, again, multiracial millennial parkour extreme sports.
They're all parkour extreme sports kids. They would
be led by they'd be led by Vin Diesel in any other movie. Mm-hmm. And they rush the mall, and for some reason they don't wait until the mall is closed. They like make their presence known, so they call the cops. So I thought. And I think they at one point they were trying to do Die Hard, right? They're trying to do
it's
a fumbling Die Hard.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, the cops are part of the plan. And I guess they might have been at one point because one of the cops is in on it, but we never see what that plan is. We never see what their plan is. We never find out what, like, again, all we know is he's like, all right, go get all the credit card machine numbers, and they're in the bank, and he's pretending to drill the safe.
Right.
So it's some sort of digital thing.
Right. Yeah, they are. That's just full on Die Hards. He's pretending to rob the bank in the mall, but what they're actually doing is going after all the credit card transactions from all the stores. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how, because they never explain how.
No, I don't think they knew how.
It's just like we need the codes to each machine, and then we'll get their money somehow. I don't know.
Right. How much money do they say?
I don't remember, dude.
Okay, because at the end, I hate to skip ahead, they escape to a private jet. And I was like, well, that's got to cost money, right? Like, their plan was to rob a local mall using extreme sports of what can't be that much money, and then escape on a private jet that I assume they either rented or own.
I think it was theirs.
Yeah, I feel like they could have just robbed the bank and found more money. I don't know.
Right, I'm not sure what the subterfuge is for there. I guess so they wouldn't immediately detect the theft. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, they skateboard around, an extreme bike around.
Mm-hmm. It's so aggressive. Like they chase everybody out of the mall. Like that's their big play, is they just chase everyone out of the mall on Black Friday. Just by doing like sick grinds and like BMX jumps and stuff. It wasn't until like the third or fourth or maybe even fifth time that they cut back to a shot of one of the parkour henchmen herding people out of the mall that I noticed he actually had a gun. Yes. Up until that point, I thought people were just running from skateboards and bikes. Yeah. Like, oh no!
Yeah,
it's too extreme in here.
It felt that way. Oh,
it did feel too extreme. Yeah,
it did feel too extreme. And yeah, Paul Blart is busy playing Guitar Hero in an arcade after playing a treadmill game that doesn't exist.
Yeah, sure.
One imagines that was like one of the shoddiest set design things I've ever seen. They just were like, it's a game where he like runs, because he's fat. Mm-hmm. We're gonna make him run on a treadmill and make it a video game. I don't know why that was in there, but yeah, he gets trapped in the mall, and then he has to, like, at this point, if this had happened 15 minutes in, and then he has to set a bunch of, because he doesn't have a gun, a bunch of Home Alone traps or something, which he starts to sort of do.
Yeah.
But he also just, I'm pretty sure, kills a man in a tanning bed.
Yeah, that dude's dead. This movie does...
and attempts to murder-suicide another man.
Yes, he
by
sure does.
By tackling him through
he tackles him
skylight.
right through a skylight. And that guy, bless that guy, he's clearly a pro skateboarder because his line delivery was like, oh, you're not an actor.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, he was not an actor.
But you're amazing on that skateboard.
Yeah, I get it. I
totally get it.
I want to quickly just... So he fights a guy in a tanning salon. Mm-hmm. And he punches him out into the tanning bed, which turns on. He seals it shut. He ties it shut. And there's a part where he looks back at it on. And he goes, oh. And I thought he was going to go unplug the tanning bed. Mm-hmm. And he puts the little glasses on him and walks away. And as far as I can tell, That man never leaves the tanning bed.
No, he dies.
For what must be hours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he dies. A slow death.
A hideous death.
Yeah.
Hideous.
Paul Blart kills a man. Again, it's dopey white cop wannabe versus a bunch of like young millennials. It's so weird. And then he attempts to kill them and does kill some of them. As far as I can tell.
There's no way he didn't.
Yeah,
they must be dead.
Yeah. What was the point of any of this?
I don't know. I guess it was supposed to be funny, but it's not.
Right.
It's just just dumb and stupid, and like when the triumphant music played at the end, I wasn't like happy. I didn't feel elated. The only thing I was happy about was like, thank Christ it's over.
Yeah, I was begging for there to not be like an outtake reel. Not that I would have watched it.
I'm reading.
Anyway.
Apparently, there is an after credit scene that I'm fucking so glad I didn't watch.
I don't give a shit.
I'm going to tell you what it is, and you can't stop me.
Okay.
All right, I'm telling you what it is. He and Amy get married.
Ugh.
On black and white Segways.
Ugh. Yeah.
And they get married in the mall, Dave.
Ugh,
in the
that's
mall.
That's such a bummer.
Where they woman. Met. Right, like like he turns down a job with the state police at the end. He's like, nope, I gotta stay and take care of them all. And like it's treated like this triumphant moment, and it's supposed to be like endearing him to Amy and his, he's a single parent. It's like, no, we're supposed to be happy that you turned down. I mean, fuck the police, but like
I was about to say, thank God he's not a cop.
Right, but like it just from his personal like standpoint, it's like you turned down a salaried job with good job security and plenty of room for advancement and increases and stuff to stay at a minimum wage job with no benefits in the mall.
That's the thing, is that would have been okay if they did the work to explain why he's making that decision.
And they don't at all.
No, they show him trying to be a cop. First of all, I was going to say terrible cop hiring practices, but I have a feeling that's how it's done in small towns. Like just being like, hey, you're all right. Come be a cop. But they do that. Him wanting to be a cop. Then he's lusting over this woman. And then there's a scene in the movie where after the robbers are there, it's like a time to kick ass scene, and he dresses in all black like a cop.
Yeah.
And then he teams up with the cops.
Yeah.
And he has they don't show him gain a connection to the mall. They don't show him any reason.
Right. The only thing we're shown about the mall is that it punishes him and nobody has any respect for him.
Yeah, and then at the they don't show like his coworkers suddenly having respect for him. Nothing changes, and at the end they're like, "Hey, why don't you be a cop?" And he's like, "No, I got a mall to protect." And it was like, "But why? Why did you never there's supposed to be some sort of character arc there where he's like, I've learned to appreciate the mall, but again, they don't explain it.
No. And it's like, wouldn't it be nice if you could provide your single parent, so your adolescent daughter and your widowed mother some health care?
Right.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. But again, there's no moral. There's just things just happen. It doesn't really add up to anything.
No.
The romance is ghastly.
It's terrible.
We all know it's going to happen,
Yeah, but like we already said, we learn nothing about Amy. We don't know who she is.
Yeah, that's part of the sign. It's like watching like King Joffrey in Game of Thrones, and he's going to do something terrible, and it's just a matter of time. It's just the moment they introduce her and he's leering at her, I'm like, God, I bet they're going to be kissing by the end, and I'm going to be horrified.
They're going to smooch at the end, and I'm going to want to scoop my eyes out of my head.
Yeah. Because she becomes a hostage at the bank. And then Paul Blart's daughter does. And they have this whole texting thing that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just because they needed him to know certain things.
Yeah, they needed him to know certain pieces of information. It was as elegant as it was as efficient as it could be. I won't knock that, because that's like they're just copying Die Hard. Yeah.
But in the moment the robbers walk in, her and Paul Blart were left in a weird place because he eats the nachos, right? at like an Applebee's, and then he's like, "Oh, I need something to drink," and he drinks 2 margaritas, and they're like, "Oh, those were margaritas, bro," and he's like, "I don't drink," and then cut to him like on a drinking binge, which that's not how drinking works. I mean, unless he's like he's off the wagon now, but they don't show it that way. They show him as like, "I don't drink."
Yeah.
Not like like they don't talk about alcoholism. It's not implied.
Right.
He keeps saying, "I don't drink. I'm not a drinker." Stuff like that. Like not, I don't know.
The gag is he drinks 2 margaritas, not realizing they're not lemonade. So like it's
right.
The implication is clear. It's no, he has never had a drink before.
And then it like bewitches him into just getting more and more drunk. And then he's an asshole. And he like comes up to her and like is like, yelling in her face.
Yeah, really
being real weird.
Yeah, really sex creeping her out.
Yeah, and then he attacks a guy doing like the singing, and then he falls through a window, breaking like property, and probably cutting himself. And so he spent all this time just being kind of a weirdo, and like there's nothing wrong with that, but being like leering at her, being kind of a weirdo, and then becoming an aggressive drunk who assaults someone. The bank is robbed. He saves the day. They don't speak between that point, really.
Mm-mm.
And they kiss at the end. And it's just, again, I'm not even surprised, it's just...
No, it's a nightmare, but it's a nightmare, but it's a standard nightmare.
Yeah. But it's the biggest, it's the most egregious version of that nightmare.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. It's... God damn it. Did he broke into a card shop to get her a card?
He did, yes, yeah.
Which, I guess we might as well talk about it. The morality of him doesn't make any sense.
No, because he's like, "I'll protect them all," and he's just like destroying shit. I guess it's like
he blows up the Rainforest
Cafe.
And again, it's not. He doesn't care. There's nothing to his personality. Like if they kept him as this lawful good, where like he was constantly protecting the property, which would be, of course, very relevant to people like this.
Yes.
I mean, my biggest note for this movie is don't make this movie, but if you have to make this movie, give him some sort of consistency, in his job, or like you make him not care about the mall, right? Like you make it like Clerks, where he's working a shit job. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like it. He's depressed about his life. He has to stop. He wants to be a cop. He has to stop these robbers, and in that process learns to appreciate the mall somehow. But they're completely unclear about that attitude that he has towards the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, at the end, he's like, "I got a mall to protect," and it's like, you blew up the mall.
Yeah, you blew up part of it. You dove through a greeting card window to get a hastily sweaty birthday card into the fists of this woman you just met. Tell me her last name, Paul Blart.
Yeah. Tell me her last name, I dare you,
piece
Paul
of
Blart.
shit.
Why does he...
Good what?
Oh, I was just going to say, why does he ride the Segway to work? Because they clearly show they all have Segways.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't be allowed to bring it home.
Unless it was his Segway.
That he bought for the job?
Yeah, he's the saddest man. So...
Yeah. But it looks like all the other Segways.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I don't know. It's a weird... This movie thought Segways were hilarious.
It really did, and this was 2009.
Yeah. I don't think Segways were ever hilarious, were they? I don't think there was ever...
Segways were hilarious when they came out. They for sure were.
Yeah.
But very, very briefly, then we just stopped caring.
Right. The only time a Segway is hilarious if I watch like a video on YouTube of someone eating shit on one.
Right. I mean, the joke is so old that fucking Job rides a Segway in the first season of Arrested Development.
Right.
Like that, and even that was a little dated when they did it. But that was kind of the joke, was that Job was still riding a Segway when they were so incredibly dated already.
Right, yeah.
This is just like, look at this guy riding a Segway, isn't it funny? I'm like, I guess.
Right. And it's like, no, not really. I liked the idea that he was very good at it, but that barely plays a role in it.
Yeah. No, none of his actual talents matter.
Yeah. And again, he's inconsistent, just like his Is he good at being a cop or is he bad at being a cop?
Right.
Because he aces that test at the beginning. The first thing we know about him is that he's graceful and can do the work of a cop physically.
Right.
He just has this one problem.
Right. He gets undercut by his extreme hypoglycemia.
Yes. And so then the rest of the movie, he's like clumsy.
He's clumsy. He's ineffectual at being a peace officer.
Yeah.
Like he has no authority. Nobody respects him.
Right. And it's just the same where it's like the one thing we know about him is he's like, I respect this mall, protect this mall. And then the rest of the movie, he's blowing up the mall. So they keep setting up things about him and then undercutting it immediately.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, this movie is god awful.
It's more.
This movie is hideous. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the mall is surrounded. Every exit has motion sensors on it.
Because the criminals put it there.
Yeah. And somehow his daughter still manages to wander inside without the SWAT team noticing and without her noticing the SWAT team.
Right. Because, okay, I get the criminals notice because they're like, oh, we got movement, and then they kidnap her.
Right.
She's going in to bring him food, right?
Going in to bring him his Sloppy Joes, yeah.
But at that point, the mall is completely surrounded by a SWAT team. There's a hostage situation that would be on the news.
Yeah.
And even if she didn't read the news, she has eyes.
Right. It is surrounded by a SWAT team. It's completely empty. Yeah, she just walks in just because they needed her.
Yeah.
They needed her to be in the movie at that point.
Right.
Why not just have her be in the mall because he's in the arcade, right? She could have come in then to bring him his lunch and get grabbed then. And
you know what would have been cool?
He still
watching him in his.
He still would have known.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna. He still wouldn't have known about it because he's still trapped in the arcade. It's the same thing. I don't know. Yeah.
And we could have watched him and his daughter bond. Because she's not a fun character. She's just sad for him.
Right. That is.
She's just there to be like, my dad. Like, again, it's there's no characters. Even the main character isn't a character.
No. Yeah. We just said, he's just a bag of inconsistencies.
Yeah, he's just whatever the movie needs him to be in that moment. Without there's a lot of parody movies are really, this is a weird example, it just popped in my brain, but like the characters aren't consistent in, say, Basketball. They're more consistent, but they're a parody. They're silly, and that's the type of movie they're in. They don't have to, the plot can be driven by random events.
I will say that at the very least, Trey Parker in Basketball has a clear, identifiable want that persists throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I mean emotionally.
Yeah,
like,
of course. They're all
can be
maniacs.
Yeah, and that's the point.
That's the point.
It's a parody. It's a or not even a parody. It's like a slapstick. It's a madball or screwball comedy. This isn't even that. That's what's weird about it is like we talked about the fat guy humor and like some of the segue stuff. Generally speaking, this movie doesn't have much slapstick in it.
No, he does
a little.
He does a lot of falling over and crash rolling and stuff. It's like it really, really, really thinks that Kevin James doing athletic things is intrinsically funny.
Right.
And it's just not. It's impressive, if nothing else.
Right. And it's mostly him doing like some action and segue, and like there's a lot more like, again, like the first 40 minutes like is culminating in him crying at his computer.
Yeah.
And it was like, geez, movie. Yeah. Like really... what is happening?
Why are you doing this?
Yeah. It's in like a long stretched out scene.
Yeah. I did think it was funny when Bobby Cannavale gets on the radio and it's like, hey, Paul Blart, you remember me? It's Jimmy Kent. You remember me? I set you on fire at the Pancake Festival. I thought that was funny.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't bad. That's fair.
You see, because the way that joke works, Dave, is we are forced to imagine what the chain of events could have been that led him to set someone on fire at the Pancake Festival.
Paul Blart is kind of just like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that worked. Yeah. That worked for sure.
Yeah.
It didn't make me laugh, but
it didn't make me laugh, but I like my mind flagged it as like, oh, that was a joke.
Yeah, that's a joke. That's definitely a joke.
That's like the first version of it. You would sit there in the writer's room and try to beat that joke. But
I don't know. It's also maybe just the timing and the editing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a joke. That's definitely a joke.
yeah, that combination of words is funny.
Yeah. Generally speaking, the humor in this is like it also, again, this is why I like the hot sauce thing, is because I didn't see it coming. Most of the jokes are also, you see them coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
Yeah.
Like when he's walking towards her and there's romantic music at the end, is like, oh, he's going to fall or something's going to happen. And then something happens and it's like, yeah, there it is. You know, like it's just, again, it's a comedy for people who've never seen a comedy before.
Yeah.
Which implies children. But again, the first 40 minutes is like adult situations.
Right.
Getting drunk.
The first 40 minutes is the preamble to a suicide note.
Yes. It's getting drunk at a bar. It's leering at a woman. It's crying about how lonely you are.
Yeah.
It's not a kids movie. And then I would argue it's not really a kids movie in the second half either, because it's just not playful. And Kevin James, I feel like, is a kids movie actor. Like, that's where he needs to be, right? Making kids movies?
Maybe. I don't know.
I can see him killing it in a kids movie.
Sure.
Or apparently as a Nazi. I haven't seen that yet, but
it's extremely fine.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll see it eventually.
Yeah. I think it's on one of them free streaming. So it might be on Shudder or Prime now.
Right. But yeah, this isn't that. It's not for teenagers. It's not for children. I think it's just for bad adults.
Right. I think it's just for...
I don't know.
It's for January 2009 when there's not a goddamn thing else you can see with your grandparents and your parents.
Yeah. I guess maybe some of our listeners like this movie, but I kind of doubt it.
I sincerely
like, I don't want to insult anybody listening, but like,
I kind of do.
I don't know. You should. Yeah, I was about to say you should kind of be ashamed if you like this movie. I mean, you shouldn't. I don't know. You shouldn't tell people.
There's no way our Patreon producer Andrew McGuire likes this movie.
Andrew's trying to hurt us.
Yeah, they picked this movie to harm us.
Yeah, I don't feel at least bit like, I'm not assuming Andrew is listening to this like, how could they?
Like, oh,
that's my favorite movie.
No. They did this because they wanted to listen to us hate it.
Right, and this is also famously a bad movie. So like, anybody listening to this, you're not surprised we hate it. Like, if you like Paul Blart Mall Cop, at this point in your life, you probably have thick skin about it because you like Paul Blart Mall Cop and you've been told by society that you are wrong.
Right.
Because you are.
Yeah, you have like you have like bone scales. If that's how thick your skin is, if you're sticking to I like Paul Blart Mall Cop as your identity in 2020.
Right.
You're probably Luke Cage. You might well be bulletproof.
Yeah, if someone wants to try to explain to us, if someone out there likes this movie and wants to explain that to us, I'm guessing that the only way to like this movie is one of two things. Nostalgia, like the same way like Jamie really liked Master of Disguise, you know? Like some sort of place in life that this was needed in the life. Like they just found out something horrible and they just needed something to lighten the mood, or they were like on acid and coming down, or if you were watching this extremely drunk and maybe like it seemed funnier, you know? Like what I'm saying is there has to be something around the movie in your life to make you like this movie in order to like this movie is my suspicion. I don't think anybody could dead sober objectively sit down and watch this movie and laugh their asses off and leave thinking it was a good movie. I just don't think that.
Yeah, there's no way. I reject that resoundingly. Yeah. I do not accept that.
It is an extremely depressing movie. It's the only comedy I think that's made me feel sad afterwards. During. And not like sad, like, oh, it's bittersweet or it's supposed to be sad. No, I was just sad.
I was sad for everything.
Yeah. Like that pocket of time in which me and this movie had to coexist there's just this aura of sadness between
It's
us.
not a fond memory for me.
It's not a fond memory.
It's the blackest room in my memory palace.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is getting repressed.
I think we have talked far too long about Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yes.
I think it's time for this to be the end of the ode.
Andrew Maguire, thank you again. I know what you're trying to do to us.
No, we know the game here. It's fine.
I'm more curious about some of the other movies on your list. I'll just spoil. One of them was Rat Race, which, quick review of Rat Race, I found that movie to be extremely mediocre, but I do remember it had a couple good jokes.
It's not this bad.
No, it does end with Smash Mouth, which that might be good, that might not be good. It ends with a Smash Mouth concert. Sorry, I have to specify. It ends with Smash Mouth physically there. So yeah, I don't know. This was probably the darkest timeline of the dice roll, I think.
Yeah, this is probably the most extreme this could have landed. These chips could have fallen. Was on this movie, Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that, Andrew Maguire. Didn't mind the dice roll. It's fun. Folks, if you want to support us, if you want to produce your own episode of We Just Watched, or your own episode of whatever, or if you just want some extra podcasts, you go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have a few exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We have tiers where you watch movies with us every Friday night. We have tiers where you're a Hypecast producer. We got a lot of options, so check that out, please.
A lot of different kinds of peanut butter for your pie. We also have a store, teepublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed, where you can get t-shirts, mugs, masks, stickers, prints, like posters, not like the artist. All kinds of things. Check it out, or don't. I don't know. Maybe we should see about getting Segways in there. I don't know.
Yeah, could we get... I don't know. Can we sell Segways?
I mean, you and I, do we possess the ability to do so? Yeah, I think so.
Like on the street? Like, let's flip Segways.
Yeah, let's become Segway flippers.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? We've already... I mean, watching Paul Blart, that's rock bottom, baby.
Yeah,
so we got...
I'm ready to enter the tumultuous world of Segway speculation.
Yeah, it's all uphill from here.
Yeah.